The nurse stepped out of the Unremarkable's medbay, stripping each of her hands of lavender gloves as she did. She bundled them up and put them into her pockets. She pulled a clipboard out from under her arm and handed it to Kasiwa. Kasiwa took the board without looking. "His treatment plan?" she asked. "My bill," the nurse corrected. "Mr. Foster will be up and about in a few hours, I would imagine. The treatment for the injury worked quite well, but it wasn't cheap. I recommend you avoid any more war zones for a while. You still don't want me to look into that other fellow?" Kasiwa looked at the bill for Rod's treatment. 4 credits. Somehow, it felt wrong to not invest in Vukovac's treatment, and that feeling was worsened as she let her gaze settle on the crate of medical supplies she'd recently traded for. The Unremarkable had the resources to help Vukovac recover. They could speed his treatment along. But he was a mercenary, a stranger to them, and Kasiwa felt guilty about using resources to heal a stranger when things had been so dangerous for the members of the crew already. She shook her head. "Not now, but maybe soon," she said. The nurse nodded, a look of admonishment on her face, and she left the ship. Nuk and Rhea wandered through the markets of Outer Kalmu. They were industrial in nature, shops nestled into the bottom of massive refineries, built into the bases of smokestacks and exhaust plumes. Everything here was the color of rust, either stained from the orange dirt or by the centuries of exposure to starship fuel. "Seems Rod's responding well to treatment," Rhea offered as they walked. "Indeed, Rod is stubborn, perhaps too stubborn to die." Rhea scoffed and rolled her eyes. "Ain't that the truth? He's stubborn, yeah," she agreed. "Why do you not approve of his command style? He has made a profit for all of us," Nuk asked. Rhea absently lifted a book from a vendor's table and turned the book over in her hand. It was worn, cover frayed, spine lined with age like an old man's face. The title of the book was Rethinking Conflict, 6 Steps to Winning Any Board Game. She smirked at the title. Books like this were always focused on their own context, but she knew from experience that the lessons could be applied in so many other ways outside the confines of their singular focus. "Truthfully, you two are always talking about how you were soldiers, but he doesn't lead like a soldier. He leads like a rogue. There's never any real plan. He doesn't consider all the options. He just goes in guns blazing. And before you say it's always worked before, remind me, how many sick beds do we have on the ship? Because 2 of them are occupied right now as we speak." Nuk straightened up. "I am expressing I know, Rhea said, throwing her hands up defensively. "Truth be told, Nuk, this has always felt like the Rod and Nuk show, and me, Kasiwa, and Obi, we're just side characters in your little story. I get it. But aside from your little issue with Obiadros, we've always had your back. It'd be nice to know that going forward, you'd realize you have a world-class bounty hunter on your team to help you plan, and my genetics give me abilities that I think you're underappreciating. Maybe help us help you a little bit, more than just being hired guns?" Rhea purchased the book. Without leaving, she put her thumb on the first page and began to quickly riffle the pages, just long enough for her eyes to see the words. In a matter of minutes, she'd riffled through the entire tome, her eyes flittering as she observed the pages, and had committed them to her eidetic memory. The book content was memorized, but she'd need to think on it for a while to truly absorb the meaning. She turned back to the vendor from whom she'd just purchased this book, and with a smile, she held it up. "I'd like to sell this used book, please," she said. Kasiwa sat at the terminal. A chime went off beside her, an incoming call from the job network. As she reached to pick up the call, Obiadros strode past. In his arms, he was holding a large cardboard box, and he had a wide grin on his face. "Obiadros, more garbage, really?" she asked. "No," Obiadros offered enthusiastically. "Someone gave this to me. They said if we deliver it, they'll pay me. Can you believe people give you money just to take something from them and give it to someone else? It's ridiculous." Kasiwa opened her mouth to protest, but realized that would have to wait. For now, she had a job offer to accept. Outer Kalmu's bounty of jobs had been a boon yet again, so they had the benefit of choice. A local fuel magnate named Lennel had called through a variety of agents and channels. Seemed that his main repository was here on Outer Kalmu, but his supply was being siphoned off by a local gang of gas huffers. Huffers were junkies who hung around the purification flumes and inhaled the vapors as they were processed. The toxic chemicals twisted their bodies and gave them incredible highs, but their bodies couldn't survive prolonged exposure. Most Huffers turned heavily to cybernetics as a mean to survive their own addictions. Seemed these local Huffers were led by a man who called himself Iron Lung. His posse had posted up on one of Lennel's factories, and it was scaring the workers away. The Huffers had to go. Going through the authorities would take too long. Kasiwa accepted the job. A quick search on Lennel's name showed that he was quite an industrious fellow, with business interests all along the edge of space. It would be good to have him on their side. Kasiwa put out the call to assemble the crew for the job. As they were gearing up to leave, Rod stepped onto the loading bay, holstering his beam pistol and strapping a rifle onto his back. He stretched his shoulder nonchalantly, rolling his neck and shaking out his hands. The crew stared on, waiting for word.
"What?"
he said.
"Her said I'm good to go, so let's go."
The crew crept up on the unsuspecting Huffers. Rod and Kasiwa flanked the Huffer's position on the right side. The Huffers advanced, using corrosive fuel barrels for cover. Iron Lung moved up on the left, the barrels of his rattlegun whirring with violent ambition. Rhea rounded the corner and lobbed a grenade at Iron Lung. The shot was precise, and Iron Lung hadn't quite made it to cover. The grenade decimated him. Nuk advanced to the left, completing the outmaneuver. Rhea's shot had taken advantage of Iron Lung's bad position, but had left her in a bad position as a result. The two Huffers advanced, both chambering rounds into their shotguns, and both fired. Only by virtue of her flickering stealth suit was Rhea able to avoid sure death. The specialist advanced, unaware that Nuk lurked around the corner. Kasiwa moved to the rooftop and rained shotgun shells down on the Hufferganger. Rhea finished her dash for cover. She lobbed a counterattack on the remaining ganger, but her shot went wide. Rod rounded the corner, leveled his military rifle, and fired, but the wound wasn't able to drop the ganger. Before the battle, Rhea had entreated Nuk to allow for better planning. With that in mind, Rhea recommended a rush to encircle the remaining 2 Huffers and eliminate them. Odds were in the crew's favor, so Rod agreed and gave the order. Nuk's Klingfire pistol sparked and belched a gout of flame into the specialist, incinerating him. Rhea charged from cover, lobbing a 3rd grenade. The Huffer was already on his knees, and the shot was accurate. The grenade ignited the gases and oils the Huffer so coveted, immolating him even after his death. Pendleton walked through the long, sterile hallways of the hospital. Each of the footfalls of his patent leather shoes echoed like cannon shots, resonating and echoing and making the small medical facility seem massive. He'd spent almost a week here, and at first, navigating the labyrinth of a public health facility had been a chore. Now, even just a few days in, he'd become used to the route. He'd even found a way to get a coffee along the way. In one hand, he balanced the piping hot brew, and in the other, he clutched a bundle of papers, slotted into colored folders and organized with long tabs scrawled with meanings and types. Pendleton turned his back and pushed through the door to the hospital room, not bothering to knock. As he did, he saw the room's resident sitting on the edge of the bed. Pendleton paused, frozen, as if caught. He didn't expect the patient to be sitting up. Thus far, the patient hadn't managed to do that much. It was a surprise to see his condition so improved. "You're up, that's great news," Pendleton offered. He resumed moving, putting his coffee on the side table and then taking his seat to start sorting through his papers. "Do you feel better then?" Pendleton asked. They sat in silence, Pendleton waiting for an answer that would never come. "Just as talkative as ever, I see. Well, then let's resume. I spent some time looking into those names you offered. I couldn't find any further information about Cora Lee, but you knew I'd say that. She's a dead end, so I looked into other angles, and I ran into some pretty heavy walls when I looked into Rhea and Kasiwa. Rhea is a 2nd-generation uplift. The genes held. No jobs, no loans, no financial records of any kind, no family records. She must have had some private arrangement with her peers. Kasiwa has protection from the Bounty Hunters Guild, and frankly, I don't get paid enough to poke that scrag nest. I'll dig into it if you want, but I don't think we need to. I think I found a better lead." Pendleton tossed a security camera photo onto the bed. The patient reached down with a weak hand and slowly hoisted the photo up into view. The page depicted a decrepit space vessel, long stripes of red and brown running against the ceramic white hull plating. It was parked at a landing pad, but not one here on ESO Lambda. The galactic tag said Outer Kalmu, and the photo was 3 days old. Pendleton started to read from other documents, tossing each of them onto the side of the bed as he did. Bank records, service records, even registries from oil changes, purchases of nuclear fuses from discount shops all across the edge of space. His research was thorough and exhaustive. Ship was leased from a Union depot close to the core about 2 years ago. The lessees assigned it the title the Unremarkable. Seems fitting. It's got 14 minor safety infractions and 8 major. It's immediately impoundable on 4 different systems just because of the condition it's in. There's still an active debt on it, so lots of financial records to find. There's 3 names on the lease. There's Rod Foster, Nuk, and Vineet Kumar Randhawa. Randhawa apparently was a financial investor, but never really attached to the ship. This Nuk character, Union service, but extremely sparse record. I can't really stress that enough. No commendations, no reprimands. The training records all indicate he was extremely average in every way, almost mathematically average. No work assignments, no performance reviews, just desk jobs, but I can't corroborate any of it. It's unusual for a soldier to have such an extremely average paper trail, so, either he's the epitome of an average soldier or... The patient cautiously lifted the photograph of Nuk up to his eye level. The picture showed a tall, green-skinned alien, face emotionless, wearing a Union cadet uniform on a distant training base. The rest of the alien's classmates stood around him, all of them in various states of seriousness, all of them as motionless as the alien himself, save for one man who was grinning widely. The patient poked the picture of the smiling man. Rod Foster attended the same Union Academy class as Mr. Nuk. Again, very average, but there's a lot more information about Mr. Foster. He served as an administrative assistant to the registrar for a few months, then he moved over into logistical administration for the remainder of his term. He had to take a leave of absence after he pulled his groin during a training exercise, and most records indicate the injury was severe enough to keep him off the battlefield. Never served in any active sorties, good performance reviews, but they started to slip near the end of his service. When his term was up, he spent a significant investment on a loan he received from Mr. Randhawa to put the down payment on an Unremarkable. Nuk co-signed on the lease of the ship, and then both of them left service at that point. Pendleton let the information hang, waiting for the patient to reply, but no reply came. Instead, the patient put the paper down on the bed and stood on unsteady legs. As he rose, a small series of lights began to blink on his chest, the tempo of their blinks increasing from his exertion. Most of his chest was bandaged, but the blinking festive arrangement of lights shone through the thin gauze, light muted from the material. Pendleton sighed and began to pack up his papers. Listen, I was hired to find Coralie, and unless she's jumped ship, she's on Outer Kalmu with the rest of the Unremarkable crew. Transit records say that after they left here, they went straight there. So good news is, fuel is prohibitively expensive on Outer Kalmu. They'll need to work to make enough money to afford to even leave the planet, and that means they'll likely be there for a while. I take it you want to catch up? The patient took cautious, unfirm steps towards the window. He braced himself on the frame, clutching the side for balance. Pendleton stood up to help, but the patient waved him off.
You said you didn't want to look into the Bounty Hunters Guild. I disagree. I think that's exactly who we should call.
Pendleton sighed again, stood, and hoisted his coffee. If that's what you want, Mr. Sidney, I'll make the arrangements.